Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my Blogcast. I hope you're well and you've had a good couple of weeks. Mine have been brilliant. It was my birthday last weekend, so I did lots to celebrate that big occasion. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. But recently, I went to another great party. It was for the wife of one of my friends from the world of radio. It was a big birthday. I won't say her name, but I will say her age. It was her 40th birthday, and she is a composer and a singer and performer. She used to appear in a tribute to a very well-known Swedish band and gig a lot doing that. She has also written music for lots of television shows, films, and adverts. She has quite an impressive CV. In fact, recently she was recorded with a full orchestra in Austria, which she absolutely loved and was a brilliant experience. Also, I have seen her and my friend perform as a duo because he has a first in classical music and is an amazing pianist. So they used to go out together as a double act. He would play the piano and she would sing, and they do kind of jazz standards, and it was really good. Anyway, got invited to this party. It was at a local cricket club, which just happened to be opposite a football club where I played a final when I was 18. Bittersweet, it was a county cup final, but sadly we lost. We could put that down to the fact I only came on at half time and didn't start the game. I was coming back from injury, to be fair, that was the problem. My girlfriend and I went along and we timed it perfectly. You know when it says a certain time on the invitation, you never want to turn up dead on that time. You have to leave it 15, 20 minutes after that. And we actually arrived perfectly, I think. There were already a few people there, enough to get the atmosphere going, but it looked like we didn't arrive too late, if that makes sense. Ideal. The night itself was great. It was good to catch up with lots of people I'd not seen for a while. And I had a feeling the entertainment would be quite good, bearing in mind the birthday girl's background. And I wasn't wrong. Instead of giving a speech, she managed to reform the ABBA tribute, and they gave us an amazing version of Dancing Queen, which had everybody dancing, swaying and singing along. It was brilliant. After that, it was a disco that she had pre-programmed herself into the old laptop, and the sound system, by the way, as you would expect, was perfect. She also had the foresight to set up a couple of microphones as well, because her and of course her former bandmates could all sing. So they took turns and joined in whenever they wanted to by just singing along with whatever song was playing. It was great, really fantastic party, thoroughly enjoyed myself. That sort of dual live performance and disco reminded me of the one time I went to the big showbiz bar of the late 90s and early noughties, the Met Bar in London. I was staying there for the weekend. It was a birthday treat from one of my friends. We had a penthouse suite overlooking Hyde Park, which was amazing. And one of the nights we went to the Met Bar itself. In there was a DJ playing some rather cool music and a live percussionist on the bongos. Weird though it sounds, it really made the atmosphere in there. That was also the same night where Wycliffe Jean offered to buy the entire place a drink with his record company's credit card, only to have the credit card removed from his hand and us finding our offer of a drink had been rescinded. You might remember in a previous episode, I mentioned that my girlfriend and I managed to get day tickets for the pricey sum of £20 to go and see Kenneth Branagh in King Lear, only for the performance to be cancelled as we were on the train into London. Well, the theatre, of course, honoured our tickets and gave us chance to rebook, which we managed to do the other week. Originally, we were going to go to a Saturday matinee. However, the only transferable tickets that we could make was to go to an evening performance on a Wednesday night. Squeezing in a very quick pizza at Pizza Express on the way there, we arrived and we had standing tickets. That was the deal. The cheap tickets were standing and our tickets were for the standing area at the back of the Grand Circle. So literally right at the back of the theatre, as far away from the stage as you could be. So as you can imagine, on the way up to our vantage point, we were a little bit apprehensive. However, when we got there, we thought, this might be all right. It was hard to say because you couldn't see the top of the stage. You didn't know what you might be missing. However, as soon as the performance started, we had an absolutely perfect view. No problem at all. We could see everything that went on stage and hear it perfectly. As you could imagine, the show itself was absolutely fantastic. Directed by Kenneth Branagh, and he was playing King Lear, the lead role as well. The whole cast were fantastic. It was so cleverly done with very minimal scenery changes, very minimal costume changes, but also some great close-up effects. It was kept as true as you possibly can to the way William Shakespeare used to portray his plays on stage originally. It was a 2-hour performance straight the way through with no interval, and the time absolutely flew by. I must confess though, between me and you, sometimes I do get a bit lost in the story during a Shakespeare play. I knew the basic premise behind King Lear, but there were bits of it where I kind of missed little bits and had to have a quick chat with Linda afterwards just to make sure I hadn't missed anything and totally understood what had happened. But as it turned out, after a brief conversation afterwards, I'd got it all, to be fair. I'm some sort of expert. I blame the fact, for some unknown reason, at my school, we did not do any Shakespeare at all. So I'm only having to discover him now, more recently, over the last 10, 15 years. I say discover, I was aware of him, but I hadn't actually seen any of his plays. Now I'm working on that and trying to slowly work my way through them all. Last Sunday, it was my birthday. Therefore, as is the tradition, I spent the whole weekend celebrating. It started on the Thursday. After work, I met Linda for a few late night drinks in London, and we had a hotel booked for that night. As it happened, it was a very nice hotel. In fact, the penthouse of the hotel we were staying at is currently being rented out by the former boxer David Haye. He has the entire top floor to himself. Didn't see him at the hotel at all, but his impressive looking car with the personalised plate is parked literally right outside the door. Anyway, that was really good, although it did lead to a bit of a late night for a Thursday, which made my Friday at work more challenging than maybe it normally would be. Got through it, got everything done that I needed to. Then on the Friday night, Linda and I had relocated to another London hotel, which was going to be our base for a couple of nights. We decided to go out for a meal. With me being gluten-free and a celiac, I do prefer, if possible, to eat at restaurants that are celiac accredited. Therefore, she generally gives me the choice of where we're going to eat. I decided that we should go to Cote on the South Bank. We had been there before to that particular branch. It's in a nice location, and I remember being well looked after by the staff. My memory was correct. We had a lovely meal in there. What I like about Cote, from my point of view, is they've actually got quite a good selection of gluten-free options. So it gives me a bit more variety than some other places. Also, it's the only place I found that they offer a fully gluten-free cheese souffle. So I just had to have that. It was camembert. It was fantastic. And for the main course, I went with something else I don't get very often, duck à l'orange. The only slight disappointment was I had selected a particular pudding, which I really fancied trying, and as it turned out, it was too popular and they'd run out of that and my second choice. So I had to have my third choice for dessert. On the plus side, in many other places I go to, I've only got one option. So the fact they had a backup plan for me that I could have, I should be grateful for. Also in there, I found a fantastic non-alcoholic cider called Sassy. If you would like a cider with zero alcohol that tastes like a proper sharp and traditional cider, I would recommend that one. It's really nice. And they also had quite a nice range of mocktails in there as well, one of which I sampled before dinner. As we'd had a later night on the Thursday than we'd planned, after the meal, we just headed back to the hotel, possibly proving I am getting older now, although I don't really want to admit it. We decided to just have some tea and watch a bit of TV, which was actually perfect. We saw the Graham Norton show, which I'm always a fan of. It had Ricky Gervais and Jamie Oliver on there, amongst others. It was very good, enjoyed that, and that ended day 2 of the 2023 birthday celebrations. The Saturday was always going to be the main day of Neil Quigley birthday celebrations. We treated ourselves to a lie-in, and then just across the road from the hotel, there was a Leon, which is a fast food restaurant that does offer quite a lot of gluten-free options. So I nipped over the road and got us both breakfast from there, and we had a leisurely breakfast in bed, something I've not done for absolutely ages. And it was great. Really enjoyed it. Just sitting there, having some food, drinking some tea. Eventually we decided we might want to do something with the day. We already had something booked for the evening, but we had a free afternoon. I am a big Elvis Presley fan. I have been to Graceland, which was amazing. I did the VIP tour there, and it was just brilliant. I have also been to a couple of big exhibitions of Elvis stuff in the UK already. However, as it turned out, I discovered just 20-minute walk from where we were staying, there was another Elvis exhibition taking place. Now, I kind of figured that I might have seen most of the items on display, but it was close by, and I always like to see some of Elvis's belongings. So we got some tickets and got ourselves along there. And it was the first time that Linda had been to an Elvis-inspired exhibition, so she got to experience it for the first time. My instinct was right. I had previously seen almost all the items they had on display elsewhere already. They did have some of the outfits from the most recent film by Baz Luhrmann that, of course, I hadn't seen before, and there were a few other little bits, but all the main things I had seen more than once. In fact, what I found out was, while we were walking around, I know quite a lot about Elvis anyway, and indeed a lot about the items on display. I reckon I could have probably done my own tour around that place. They even, by the way, had shipped over some of his cars from the big car collection he has, including the MG from Blue Hawaii, that film, and also his much-loved black Ferrari. And of course, it included lots of his clothes. That man had some amazing outfits. I would have loved to have owned some of his shirts, and the iconic American Eagle jumpsuit from Aloha in Hawaii, that was there as well. I think that's about the 4th or 5th time I've actually seen that, you know. So we spent about an hour or so in the exhibition. Then it was time to head towards the restaurant that we'd booked for our evening meal. On the way to break up our journey, we did find a pub, so we stopped in there for a quick drink, mainly so we weren't too early for our reservation. Now, as it was a birthday treat meal, I wanted to eat ideally somewhere different from the places that I normally eat, but at the same time, I was looking for somewhere where I could have a big selection of items off the menu. In and around London, there are here and there some restaurants which are 100% gluten-free. All the dishes that they serve are free from gluten, either by design or some of them just by that's the way it just naturally happens to be with the food that they are making and dishing up. Linda had done some research and found a few options, and I settled on a Latin American style restaurant in Elephant and Castle. It was called Paladar, and you get the idea of how good a place is from the staff and the greeting they give you. Walked in, there was a very happy, smiley man on the front desk. We confirmed our reservation. He took us to our table, explained everything that we needed to know, was really, really good and helpful. And then moments later, our waitress come over and again just reiterated the best way to order food. It was kind of a sharing restaurant where they suggest you order a few dishes each and share it between you. Now, normally that is a no-go for me and Linda because I need gluten-free stuff. She's not a fan necessarily of the gluten-free meals because there's better meals available if you can eat gluten in a lot of the restaurants we tend to go to. So it's nice that we could share food with no fear of cross-contamination with each other. They also did a fantastic mocktail in there. So good, I had 2 glasses of it. It was really nice. It was a basil, cucumber, lime and pineapple concoction, which tasted amazing, to be fair. Very sweet, which I think is why I liked it. It did take us a while to decide what to have, mainly because, from my point of view, I could actually have everything off the menu. So Linda very kindly let me select the dishes I wanted first, and then she chose hers so we could have a combination. The food was absolutely amazing. It was so good. It was presented brilliantly, tasted great, and it all complemented each other. And thanks to the guidance from the staff there, we ordered exactly the right amount in that we felt nicely full. We felt we'd had a lovely meal, but we didn't feel overly full. And I did manage to leave some room for dessert. And the dessert was the highlight for me. I actually got to have churros, which I know sounds like a little thing, but that's the first time I've ever seen a gluten-free version of them available in a restaurant. I got 5 of them. They were huge, and they came with 2 different dipping sauces, chocolate and chili and caramel and coffee, and they were absolutely fantastic. I must have been in a very good mood because it was my birthday weekend. I don't normally share my pudding, but I did let Linda have a few bits to try. Well, it was kind of the least I could do because she did buy the dinner as part of my birthday present. Part 2 of my birthday present was where we were going to next. I, as you will have realised if you've listened to any of my previous vlogcasts, am a big fan of the theatre. I will pretty much go and see anything that is on stage, but I do love a musical. They are always my favourite. It was my birthday weekend, so Linda got us both tickets to go and see the current production of Guys and Dolls at the Bridge Theatre. Now, I'd not been to the Bridge Theatre before. She'd been there before about 4 years ago to see a Shakespeare performance. The tickets we got for Guys and Dolls were billed as standing interactive tickets. Now, I'd never done that at a big theatre before, so I was actually quite excited. We got there, we arrived, the whole place was themed, especially towards the production, including special drinks with names linked to it and lots of great signage. So you got the feel of things right from the off, really made for the atmosphere. And as I'm still not drinking alcohol at the moment, I found they were serving mojitos. So I had one of those before we went in to the auditorium. The way it worked was brilliant. So we went in and you could kind of stand wherever you wanted at first, but they had a series of assistant stage managers dressed as New York policemen and women who would basically come along through the crowd and just move you where you need to be. It was very clever how it was done because different parts of the stage went up and went down as the show went along. And we were, as a standing audience, moved to where they needed us to be. So it's a lot of shuffling forward, shuffling backwards, shuffling to the side. But throughout the performance, we got some great views with the actors right next to us. Also, they would interact with you, shake your hand, speak to you as the performance went on. In fact, I got given one of the props to take away. The cast themselves were fantastic. So good. It was brilliant from start to finish. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Guys and Dolls, but there's one point where the story moves to Cuba and a very wild night is had. Well, as they went to Cuba for the wild night out, it went absolutely crazy. They handed out tinsel to some of the audience who were standing around us, and they got to shake that. We were all encouraged to have a bit of a dance to the boogie, and at one point, when it got really crazy and was all kicking off, we all got sprayed with a soda siphon. My shirt got wetter than I was expected, and it was dripping down my face. I thought it was hilarious, absolutely loved it. It was perfectly in the spirit and within keeping with things and how they were going. It was just such a feel-good show. And being in that interactive standing audience, you really did feel like you were part of things. Then we got to the interval. Linda had pre-ordered drinks for us. We managed to find them, and I had ordered a mojito. It was basically a pint of mojito they'd given me for the interval, which was very nice of them. I was quite thirsty, mainly because that soda siphon went over my shirt and not in my mouth. Otherwise, I'd have probably been nicely rehydrated. Another great thing they did, there was almost like a soft launch to the start of Act 2, which I know sounds odd. Basically, what they did was, about halfway through the interval, and you could take your drinks in, by the way, they announced that there was going to be some entertainment in the fictional club that is part of the story of Guys and Dolls. So we went back in, there was a trio singing who were absolutely fantastic. Then we had a tap dancer, another dance routine, and the trio did a few more songs. And from those performances, the second bit of the show just beautifully started in from there as the rest of the audience filtered in. It was perfectly done. Second half of the show was as good as the first. They did it all fantastically. In the second half, the two big songs really from that musical appear. Let Luck Be a Lady Tonight and Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat went down an absolute storm. We were all singing, dancing, clapping along. It was brilliant. Then at the end, once the cast had taken their curtain calls and their bow. I mean, there wasn't any curtain. The stage is right in the middle of the auditorium with all us standing around it. But you know what I mean. Once they'd taken the adulation of the crowd, they then all stayed out and we had a 10-minute dance-off with the cast all dancing around us, with us, encouraging us to all get in the middle of the dance floor and have a good old boogie. It was brilliant. I must say, some of the members of that cast have got some moves, especially Daniel Mays, who was playing Nathan Detroit. That man has got some serious moves. It was brilliant. You cannot help but walk out of that place with a massive smile on your face. If you get a chance or you fancy it, definitely do go and see Guys and Dolls. And if you can, get the interactive stand-in. You will have a fantastic time. It was great. My birthday was actually on the Sunday, which meant whether I actually had a good day or not was pretty much down to my football team, Tottenham Hotspur. They were at home to Newcastle United on that day. I am a season ticket holder. I like to go to every single home game. Part of that being, I guess, I paid my season ticket in advance, so I want to get my money's worth. And also, I really do enjoy the whole match day experience and going to the game. Before I went to the match, Linda and I grabbed a pizza just by Euston train station at Prezzo so I could have a gluten-free one and also so I could have some chocolate cake for my birthday. They didn't put a candle in it, but I'll let them off. I enjoyed it nonetheless. Then she went home and I headed off to the game, quite concerned about how things may go. I wanted to win because it was my birthday and I didn't want to feel upset and frustrated on that day. It was great to catch up with all my football mates before the game and we had a bit of a laugh and a bit of a chat in the bar area. Then into the stadium and time for the big match. Luckily, Tottenham played very well and we managed to win the game 4-1, which meant my birthday was a success. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great to watch. The atmosphere was brilliant. Had a sing, had a shout, had a clap, cheered, went crazy. Then a drink in the bar afterwards, a water no less, to celebrate the achievement. And then it was time to battle the trains to get home. Now, because I'd been out all weekend, that meant I hadn't been at my house and had a chance to see if any cards or presents had arrived. So I got home from the game at about 9:45, and that was the first chance I had to open all my cards and open any presents. Did very well once again this year, had lots of cars, which was brilliant. My girlfriend knows that I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and I was very pleased with what she got me. It was a C3PO headphones holder, which I now use to store my headphones on. In fact, between me and you, I often speak to C3PO when I'm getting my headphones and putting them back on his head. I am okay, I think. I know I do talk about being celiac quite a bit, but since being diagnosed, it's a major part of my life because any mealtime, I have to think very seriously and carefully about what I'm eating, where I'm eating, how I'm eating. Now, to make sure everything is working and I'm doing a good job and it's all under control, I have to have an annual blood test just to make sure everything is okay. And they suggest you do that round about your birthday, which in a way does seem odd timing. But then again, I suppose it's easy to remember to do it because even I generally remember when my birthday is. I recently had the blood test done this week, although when I turned up, it didn't necessarily fill me with confidence. I made the appointment at my doctor's and said to them, I need my annual celiac checkup. They made me a direct appointment with the nurse without consulting my doctor. So I duly turn up to have my blood test and she asked me what my blood test is for. I say it's my celiac checkup and then she has no idea what they're actually testing for. So I had to suggest we go back through my records and maybe try and find out what they tested for last year. I don't know exactly what they test for, and you never get a breakdown of the results. They just give you an overview. They certainly didn't tell me exactly what they were looking at. So I get the results later this week, and who knows, hopefully we covered everything we were supposed to. If not, I may have to speak to my doctor and get it redone. Now my birthday is over for this year. We can all officially begin the countdown to Christmas. I don't know if you know this, but Christmas doesn't actually begin or shouldn't be allowed until the 11th of December, in my opinion, day after my birthday. Now I am fully on board with Christmas. I'm going to a family Christmas party this afternoon at my uncle's house, which will be fun. It normally is the week before Christmas and really does kick off the celebrations for me. Talking of which, have a fantastic Christmas yourself. I hope it's fun, it's peaceful, it's whatever you want it to be. Enjoy it in whichever way you want. And of course, be nice to everyone around you. It's that time of year. Goodwill to all men and women. Quick reminder, you can hear my radio show Saturday afternoons between 2 and 4 on radio9springs.com. That's it for this week. Look after yourselves and each other, please. Take care, have fun, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.